Good morning, everybody. So today is Monday morning, November the 9th, and we are on day 4 of Module 2 in Wit and Wisdom. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Hold on, let me think about what I'm trying to say. Just a heads up that today is going to start our writing activity for the Buffalo Our Back, okay? And so today's secret word is Mickey Mouse. Today's secret word is Mickey Mouse. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hey, there we go. Okay. I hope you guys have been working on your vocabulary words and making sure you're getting those in your journal with your illustration for each one. Hold on. I need to make sure that I clicked the little button, and I didn't. I'm glad I went back and checked.
Welcome back, amazing thinkers. I'm Sue Sabella, your Great Minds teacher. Let's see what we need for today. Today we'll need the Buffalo Our Back, handout 3A, the response cards that you already cut out and used before, handout 4A, which is the focusing question task 1, evidence organizer, assessment 3A, which is the focusing question task 1, your journal, and a pencil. Please pause here to gather what you need and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so you do have your digital copy of the Buffalo Our Back, and you do not have the response cards with icons. We're using the ones that I have here. And then I have posted the focusing question task. You have your evidence organizer on page 52 of your knowledge response journal already. And yes, you need your journal and a pencil.
When we study the past, we can learn a great deal about events that shaped the present and could also shape our future. When we think about the events of the past, we think about the word impact. What kind of impact did those events have on our world? Today, we'll explore the difference between a positive impact and a negative impact. And we'll also be exploring the power of words and topic-specific vocabulary. So let's get to it. Let's choral read or read this question together. What is the important message in this text? To be able to answer this question, we'll explore the effects or the impact that people had on the prairie. As we consider or think about the impact that people or groups of people had on the prairie, it's important to think about whether those people had a positive impact on the prairie or a negative impact on the prairie. Positive means good. Did they have an impact on the prairie that was good for the prairie? Negative impact is bad. Did they do something to the prairie that had a bad effect or a bad impact on the prairie? Pause here to grab your cards, or remember, you can always make cards using scrap paper. Just be sure to include the labels, and you can look at my pictures for the labels. Pause here to get your cards ready, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so remember, we already have the cards cut out. We used them on Friday. They're right here. Okay. All right. So we're just going to keep going.
We learned from our text, The Buffalo Are Back, that the Indians burned the grass for thousands of years, and they did that to add nutrients into the soil through the fire's ashes. The buffalo ate the grass, but not too much, and their sharp hooves helped rainwater reach into the soil, and that also kept the prairie healthy. As you think about the American Indians in the prairie, do you think the American Indians had a positive or good effect on the prairie, or a negative impact or a bad effect on the prairie? Pause here to do some powerful thinking or to chat with a learning partner about this. And just hit play when you're ready to continue. Did the American Indians have a positive impact on the prairie or a negative impact? Point to the side of the T-chart where you would place your card. The American Indians had a positive impact or good effect on the prairie. Because they burned the grasses, the ashes from the burned grasses added nutrients to the soil, and that kept the prairie healthy. Let's keep thinking about the impacts that people or groups of people had on the prairie. As we read The Buffalo Are Back, we learned a lot about early settlers. They brought fences and cattle to the plains, and the cattle did not roam, so they ate too much of the grass within their fences. The flat hooves on the cattle packed the earth. Air and rainwater no longer reached into the soil. The settlers also wanted to farm their land, so they tore out the grass and planted crops instead. I want you to think about The Buffalo Are Back and what this text taught us about the early settlers. Did they have a positive impact on the prairie or a negative impact on the prairie? Pause here to do some powerful thinking and to dig back into the text if that's available to you. Also, you can chat with a learning partner. But you decide, did the settlers have a positive impact or a negative impact? Pause here to do your thinking or chatting, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue. Where should the settlers card go? Did they have a positive impact on the prairie or a negative impact on the prairie? Point to the side of the T-chart where you think we should put the card. Unfortunately, the settlers had a negative impact on the prairie. The cattle that they brought ate too much of the grass, and also the cattle's hooves were flat and pushed the soil down and didn't allow rainwater or air to get in. The settlers also pulled out the grass on the prairie to plant their own crops. They had a negative impact on the prairie. I think you're ready to try the last one on your own. Did President Theodore Roosevelt and his government have a positive impact on the prairie or a negative impact on the prairie? You'll pause here to do some powerful thinking, some rereading, or some chatting with a learning partner to help you think about this. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so here you are actually going to get out your journal. We're going to go to page 53 in your journal today because I want you to write out your response to that question, okay? So on page 53, I want you to write at the top of the page, describe how the Roosevelt government had an impact on the prairie. Now, it's very, very important, guys, that you think about President Roosevelt and his government, okay? Because at one point, the government before President Roosevelt was not good for the prairie at all. Remember, they're the ones who told settlers to go out and kill as many buffalo as they could. So the government before President Roosevelt is not the government that I want you to be thinking about right now. I want you to be thinking about President Roosevelt and his government and what they did, okay? So on page 53, you're going to write this question. Describe how the Roosevelt government had an impact on the prairie. And I want you to tell me what President Roosevelt and his government did. Was it a positive impact or a negative impact on the prairie? So go ahead and do that now. I'll put this back up so you can copy it onto your journal, page 53. And then when you have finished writing your response, you can go ahead and push play to continue.
Where should we put President Roosevelt and his government? Did they have a positive impact or a negative impact on the prairie? Point to the side where you think I should put the cards. We learned from our text, The Buffalo Are Back, that President Roosevelt established the National Bison Range in Montana, and he made it illegal to shoot the buffalo. There would now be more sharp hooves to let water and air into the soil on the prairie. President Roosevelt's government also taught farmers how to plant crops in curves rather than straight lines. That way, the dirt wouldn't blow away. President Roosevelt and his government had a positive impact on the prairie. When we think about the impact that people had on the prairie and whether the impact was positive or negative, that can help us think about the important message in this text or the central message in this text. What can we learn from the story of the buffalo and the prairie? What was the important message in this text? I'd like you to pause here to grab your journal and your pencil and also stay paused so you can write an answer to this question in your journal. Think for a bit, chat with a learning partner if you'd like to, and then write. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we are going to go to page 54 of your journal. You guys just wrote on page 53 about how President Roosevelt and his government had an impact on the prairie. So now you are going to write on page 54, and you're going to write out at the top, what is the important message? So I want you to think before you start writing. I want you to think, talk to someone about what is the important message of The Buffalo Are Back? What is it the author wanted you to learn from this story? Why did he tell you all of this information? So on page 54, you're going to write, what is the important message of The Buffalo Are Back? So page 54. I need to see your screen. Okay, page 54. What is the important message of The Buffalo Are Back? So go ahead and get that written down on page 54. And guys, remember, this is your opinion, okay? There's no right or wrong answer. It's what you think the author wanted you to learn from this story. So page 54 again. What is the important message of The Buffalo Are Back? So go ahead and do this now. And then when you are finished, you can go ahead and hit play.
It's a great time to stretch and take a break. Pause here to take a stretch break and just hit play when you're ready to continue. How did the actions of American Indians and early Americans impact the prairie in the American West? You'll be answering this question as you begin to work on the focusing question task. Pause here to grab assessment 3A, the focusing question task 1, and your pencil. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so I have already uploaded this for you into the Google Classroom today. So you do have a copy of it, but we're just going to look at Ms. Sabella's for right now.
Let's review the task and also the checklist for success. Our task is write an informative paragraph to answer the focusing question. How did the actions of the American Indians, settlers, and President Theodore Roosevelt impact the prairie in the American West? As I think about the actions of people and the impact that they had on the prairie, I need to remember that I'm looking at 3 different groups of people. I'm looking at the actions of the American Indians. I'm also looking at the actions of the settlers. And I'm also looking at the actions of the Roosevelt government. Each group had an impact on the prairie, so I need to be sure to include each group in my response. You need to support your response using evidence from the following texts. The Buffalo Are Back by Jean Craighead George. The checklist for success states, be sure to include all of the following in your response: a topic statement, at least 3 sentences with evidence, the words first, then, and finally, a conclusion, and topic-specific words. As we get ready to write an informative paragraph, I want you to think back on the parts of the paragraph and what they do. Pause here to discuss with a learning partner or to do some thinking on your own, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we know that the top statement tells us what the paragraph is going to be about. It introduces what we're going to say. And we know that the evidence has to support the topic statement. And the conclusion kind of just re-says the topic statement altogether, okay? We know that the topic statement is at the beginning of the paragraph. The evidence is in the middle and it supports the topic statement, and the conclusion is near the end.
Topic statements tell the essential idea, what the paragraph is about. Evidence develops the topic with information from the text. And a conclusion reinforces what the paragraph is about. Another way of saying that is the conclusion reminds the reader what the topic is. The topic statement answers the question that's being asked, and it usually comes near the beginning of a paragraph. The evidence supports the topic statement and comes in the middle of the paragraph. The conclusion may restate or repeat the topic statement, and it often comes near the end of the paragraph. As we think about the focusing question task and getting ready for it, this is an important question to think about and to consider. How do I use topic-specific words in an informative paragraph? It's important when writing an informative paragraph to pull those topic-specific words directly from the text, so you can be very specific when you're sharing information with others. Words like prairie and settlers, as soon as you say those words, they create a very specific picture in the mind of your readers. Topic-specific words are very important to include in informative paragraphs. Please pause here to grab handout 4A and your pencil. Just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so we do not have the copy of the handout 4A, but what you're going to do is you're going to use your chart on page 52, okay? Everything that Miss Bella is about to say is on the chart that you did on Friday, okay? So to open up your journal to page 52, okay? And what we're going to do is you're going to choose your evidence. Miss Bella is going to say for you to write it on the sheet. You don't have the sheet. You're going to circle your evidence in yellow, blue, and yellow, okay? First piece is in yellow, second piece is in blue, third piece is in yellow. And just like she says on the video, she's only writing one piece on the chart. You're only circling one thing from the first column, one thing from the second column, one thing third column, okay? So you're using the chart that you made on page 52, not the paper that she's showing you, but they look identical. Okay.
The directions tell us to record evidence to include in your informative paragraph. As you record evidence, you'll only be recording one piece of evidence in each column. As I move to the next slide, I would like you to keep handout 4A and your pencil ready. As I review the evidence organizer that we completed together, you'll be pulling information from that organizer to add to yours in handout 4A. So keep handout 4A and your pencil ready as we move to the next picture. Here's the evidence organizer that we completed together as we read The Buffalo Are Back. You'll notice in the first column, we have one piece of evidence. First, the American Indians burned grass for healthy soil. Since there's only one piece of evidence in this column, this is the evidence that you will choose to copy into your handout in handout 4A. In the first column of your evidence organizer, you will write burned grass for healthy soil.
Okay, so like I said, you are not actually going to write this, okay? You don't have this paper. You took your chart on page 52, and I circled in yellow what Miss Sabella is telling you to write on the chart. So instead of writing it on the chart, you're circling it in your journal, okay? The first part was yellow.
Pause here to jot that down in your first column and just hit play when you're ready to move on to the second column. When we read The Buffalo Are Back, we noticed that the settlers did 3 very specific things that had an impact on the prairie. They shot the buffalo, so there were no hooves for healthy soil. The settlers brought cattle and the cattle ate too much grass, and their hooves were flat and packed the soil. They also tore out the grass to plant crops. You get to choose which piece of evidence you would like to add to your evidence organizer. Choose just one to add to your organizer. Pause here to work, and then just hit play when you're ready to move on to the third and last column.
Okay, so what I did is on my journal, I chose, don't know, can you guys see? There we go. I chose the one on the bottom that the settlers tore out grasses to plant crops. That's the one I chose, so I circled that one. That does not mean that you have to choose it. You could choose any one of these three. You choose the one that you want and then circle it in blue.
As we read The Buffalo are Back, we also gathered evidence about the impact the Roosevelt government had on the prairie. The Roosevelt government made a safe place for the buffalo. The Roosevelt government taught farmers to plant crops in curves rather than straight lines to keep the soil healthy. The Roosevelt government also planted trees on the prairie to add more moisture to the ground. Now it's time for you to select just one piece of evidence from the 3 pieces of evidence in the final column. Copy that piece of evidence into your evidence organizer on handout 4A. Pause here to do that work, and then just hit play when you're ready to continue.
Okay, so the same thing. You have 3 choices of what you can pick in the last column. I picked the one in the middle. That's what I chose. That does not mean that's what you have to pick. You can pick any one of those 3. Okay, you're going to circle that one in yellow.
Now that you have your 3 pieces of evidence in your evidence organizer, you're ready to practice your informative paragraph out loud. Remember when you practice out loud to make sure you have a topic statement, 3 pieces of evidence, and a conclusion. Remember to link your evidence with the words first, then, and finally. Also, remember to include topic-specific words in your informative paragraph. So practice that out loud using your evidence organizer. Pause here to practice out loud and to write just one sentence that will start your informative paragraph. You'll be writing the rest of your informative paragraph during our next video lesson.
Okay, so what I want you to do is, like Miss Sabella said, you're going to do this out loud with your mouth. You're not actually writing it in the journal today, okay? So the things that you just circled on page 52, that is the yellow part of your paragraph, okay? So what I want you to really think about right now is I want you to think about what is a good topic statement. The question is, it says, write an informative paragraph to answer the focus in question. How did the actions of the American Indians, settlers, and President Theodore Roosevelt impact the prairie in the American West? Okay, well, I know that these 3 things, this is about the American Indians, this is about the settlers, this is about the Roosevelt government. Okay, so as long as I use these things that I circled, I'm going to be able to answer that question. We need to come up with the topic statement, okay? The question is, how did the actions of these people impact the prairie? And there's different ways that it was impacted. Some of it was positive, some of it was negative. So when you're thinking about what your topic statement should be, you need to try to say something about that, okay? You should say something about actions of some were positive and the actions of some were negative. Or you could say the actions of these people had different impacts on the prairie. So that's what I want you to think about right now. Come up with a good topic statement, and then out loud, I want you to tell someone the next parts of your paragraph, okay? And then try to think of a conclusion statement. And remember, your conclusion statement is just you restating your topic statement. It's just a little bit different. Okay. So we're just doing it out loud today. You're not writing any of that down yet. Okay. Just do it out loud. Now, I want to show you where Miss Isabella talks about topic specific words. In today's work, right here, Monday, Wit and Wisdom Day, Module 2, Day 4 activities, I included this chart right here that says topic specific vocabulary sort. Now, you're not actually going to do the sort, okay? I just wanted to provide you all of these topic specific words. So you can use these in your writing, okay? So maybe you're talking about the buffalo and how they graze on the grass, or settlers and explorers and how they cause the soil crumbled, okay? Hunters killed out the buffalo. These are all topic specific words that you can use in your writing task, okay? So you don't actually have to do the sort. I just wanted you to see the topic specific words. Everybody understands? Okay. And then here is the focusing question task. This is the question that you were answering right here. And here's what you need to have. These are your criteria, okay? Just like all the other ones we've done. So you have those two things. I included a picture of what I did with page 52. I circled my choices instead of writing it out in the chart like Miss Bella did. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and I will also add in a picture of page 53 where you are describing how the Roosevelt government had an impact on the prairie, and page 54, where you tell me what you think the important message is of the buffalo are back. So I will put those two pictures in there also. And let's go back to our video. We're almost done.
Just hit play when you're ready to wrap up. Many people had an impact on the prairie. Some had a positive impact, and others had a negative impact. You have lots of knowledge now about the prairie and the story of the buffalo on the prairie. Share that knowledge with others, and I will see you again very soon.
Okay, so that is the end of day 4's lesson. So remember, you have 3 things to do today. You need to choose which evidence you're going to use, which you should have done that while watching the video. You are going to describe how the Roosevelt government had an impact on the prairie. Again, you should have been doing that during the video. And you're going to tell me what is the important message of the buffalo were back. And you were supposed to also do that during the video. Don't forget to tell me what today's secret word is somewhere, either on Clever or on the Google Classroom or email even, okay? Just make sure you tell me so that you get your points for today. All right, so I hope you guys have a great day. I will see you in a little while for phonics. Bye.